Day, and welcome to the first season of Guampreneurs, a podcast to explore the entrepreneurial stories that shape our business landscape. My name is Melanie Mendiola. I'm the administrator and CEO of the Guam Economic Development Authority, and joining me for part 2 of this interview is Mr. Ho Yun, the chairman and sole trustee of Cortec International. If you haven't yet had a chance, tune in to the first episode featuring Mr. Ho as we really delved into his backstory, as well as his time, as well as how he built his construction empire from 74 employees in an industry, how you went from taking over a construction company in distress with 74 employees to building a 3,000 employee business where the only person in distress is Mr. Ho. Is that correct?
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. Appreciate
All right, Mr. Ho, one of the questions, we delved into your background in our last episode, but one of the things we didn't ask you was how did you make your way to Guam? Was your wife from Guam?
No, actually, my wife was born and raised in Korea until 11 years old, and she moved to the States, and she graduated college there. And I talked to my family that I'm going to marry my wife, and yeah, they approved, but there's some resistance. So to salvage my marriage,
Because she's American Korean?
sort of,
Okay.
sort of. So they're old people. So I decided to move out of country,
Okay.
so I can maintain my marriage peacefully.
I love it. Well, Love brought our very first interview for this podcast, sir, was Mr. David John. And David John also moved to Guam for love. So he moved to Guam for love, but he stayed for the money. No. All right. So, Mr. Ho, we spent quite a bit of time talking and delving deep into the construction industry. And thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge that you have in that regard. Before we, the one thing I wanted to ask was, people will certainly tune in to that episode, and I think they should before they tune into this one. Nevertheless, if you were talking to small time, individuals interested in taking the leap in the construction trades, what is one piece of advice you'd like to pass on to them?
Study. You really have to study.
Study.
You got to know how to read the drawings. You really need to understand what the specs is asking for.
Okay.
So you really have to understand what is a requirement first.
So if you're, let's say, for example, a plumber, so how important is it for you as a plumber to get experience under plumbing companies, larger plumbers, and so on and so forth? I mean, how?
Well, first of all, there's a GCATA,
Right.
so Trade Academy. Definitely you can enroll and go through the training part first and then get into the job training. I believe the life is a matter of experience. It's not only a knowledge. You got to apply it to the real life. So it's better that you start small and get to the next level gradually. And every step you move forward, and you will see something that you were not aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
And you learn.
And you learn.
Who is a contractor's best friend as far as resources and partnerships? Is it your accountant? Is it your estimator?
I always work with 5 people.
Your lawyer?
Lawyer, no.
No, they're not important.
Good friend, but so I always work closely with my CEO, the president and vice president, and the CFO. We have 2 vice presidents. So I constantly work with these 5 people.
And tell me, why is that? What is the
different
dynamic
roles.
of this team?
So the CFO basically, she's looking at all the details of the projects. So when it comes to numbers, so I understand where we are.
Okay.
So it's just reports. But we also need to work with the job site people.
Okay.
So he's been with the company over 30
And
plus
does he
years.
hold a COO type role? Is that his job, or is that construction manager?
No, he's the vice president in
vice
construction.
president. Okay.
So operations.
I understand.
So when it comes to operations detail, I get details information from him. But at the same time, I work with the BP in estimates, so-called pre-construction.
Okay.
So he and I work closely when it comes to the bid process.
Okay.
Because we have to win the project first before we execute.
Right.
So we need to constantly get the job done. Recently I won $62 million project.
Yes, sir.
And I was
Congratulations.
laughing at him. You know what? This doesn't even cover 1 month of operation.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
say, yeah, true. So once we are successful, basically you become a hostage of your success. So you have to keep up. Because if you don't keep it up, you have to let go of your own people.
And
That's
you
not
have
what
these
you
are
want.
people. It took you a while to onboard. It took you a there was training involved, right? Involved. You don't
Correct.
just your chief estimator didn't just wake up one day and say I'm an estimator
No, it
today.
takes time.
It takes
It
time.
takes time.
And so you've made that investment over time.
But,
And
but if somebody wants to start a construction company right now and then try to entertain this opportunity, you don't have much time.
right,
So you really need to form a good friends and companies with experienced people.
right.
That's the first thing that you need to do. You cannot do everything by yourself.
Where do you find that network, sir?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, you know, I had a lunch with my friend. He's born and raised here in Guam. When I had a lunch with him, always I enjoy that he's talking about his friends. So if I don't have a younger sister.
Okay.
If I have a younger sister, I'll probably introduce my younger sister to him.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he's married, no problem.
Oh.
Done deal. But I really,
I was going to say our listeners would like to know who the single successful man is, sir. Anyway, go ahead.
Harry Chang.
Oh, Harry Chang. Yes, yes. No, lovely.
So-
we love his wife.
Yeah. So he has a lot of good friends.
Sure.
So even though
Because he's a friendly guy. I mean, he's
exactly,
just he's
oh,
a
he has
friendly
good
guy.
heart.
He's
So he doesn't have to have a direct information or experience, but because he has a good heart, and he can have a lot of resources and networking.
right.
So I think so everything starts from ourselves.
Right, right. Okay. And then through word of mouth and all of that, the connections are made, the partnerships are built.
Yeah.
And
But
you
at the
press
same
forward.
time, you got to be desperate. If you're not desperate, I don't think there's anything you will
Be
follow.
hungry.
Extremely hungry.
Extremely hungry. Mr. Ho, what led, so now segueing into other aspects of your business, did you move into property management before hotels and hospitality?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
What happened, 2009, we were ready to house over 5,500 construction workers, including so-called Tizan High and many other apartment complexes.
Yes, sir.
However, because of
stalled.
tsunami, it stopped.
Yeah.
So I had no choice but to convert some of the buildings into different purposes.
Okay.
So it was a summer bill.
Tizan High Tizan was supposed to be a barracks.
It shall
or-
be a barracks, should be,
It should be a barracks, but is now a high school.
high school.
Okay.
But there is some situation with John F. Kennedy, so I was able to convert that as a school, very fast move, and then submit the bid. So I was selected to
Okay.
convert that as a school. For example, Somerville used to be called El Dorado or Tumen Village.
Okay.
So we bought that building only for barracks.
Okay.
At the time, out of 412 units, only 30, 40 tenants were staying there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think only 3 tenants were paying.
Okay.
So
3 tenants out of how many units?
yeah, I think the previous owner did some kind of trade.
Okay.
So it wasn't really doing any cash
Oh, boy.
operations. So I was losing $70,000, $80,000 per year
Okay.
because of the water leak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an old building. So I had to stop leaking in terms of the water and cash. So we sent our civil guys and rip out, and you know what? It's too old. So I had to build a brand new water line,
Okay.
water distribution line. So we spent about $100,000 plus. So I
Okay.
said, you know what? Since we spend money, let's do the renovation.
Okay.
But as you know, it's a 412 unit and
Yes.
quite dated old buildings. So
So, Mr. Ho, let me get this straight. You tore down a wall, you saw a hot mess behind the wall, and you decided to go ahead and put more money into this thing? I mean, that sounds like a hole in the ground.
but I have to hedge my risk.
Yes.
So I made
You
a
have to hedge
deal.
your risk,
I
okay.
made a deal with First Hawaiian Bank,
Okay.
the chairman. So I explained, and then he agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Then he used a very high debt service credit ratio.
Okay.
So instead of 1.2 or 1.25, he made it higher than that.
Okay.
But once you complete each building
Mm-hmm.
and you maintain 90% occupancy, we will get your money back.
Okay.
That was a structure. So it took about 2 years to reach 100% occupancy.
Okay.
Actually, longer than 2 years.
And so that's when you had to segue. So I know that you already had the manpower in place to do the
Correct.
work to the building, and that was
Correct.
very helpful.
Correct.
But then you also had to segue to being a property manager, no? Just straight up like getting people to rent your place.
I was able to do so, but the funny thing is that when I was running around, I think 500, 600 unit apartment,
Right?
I felt that I was actually guilty because I only need 7 staff,
Okay.
not including maintenance crew. So 7
You felt guilty because it was so much easier than construction?
Correct. Because 7 people is really good for building one house.
Yes.
So
And
Right.
7 people to do 500
600
units.
unit
600
rental.
units.
So
Yeah.
I feel odd, and you know what? Something is not right. I feel guilty.
Okay.
And then a few years later, I get used to it, and I really enjoy. Why am I doing construction?
Yes.
Don't trust people too much. I don't trust myself. So
You felt guilt. That's funny.
and now you get used to it, right? And you enjoy it, and then you don't want to get out of that loop, right?
Sure. So then you started to think about now projects. I would imagine you approach it in terms of this is the finite amount of capital that I have. Will this capital be devoted towards this investment and continuing to get this investment operating in its full capacity, or this investment? So it's an either or,
Correct.
or both. Now, sir, what did you ever start to seek partnerships or outside investors for the businesses that you're doing?
No, actually, no. I own 100% of the company.
Okay.
So, but I do work together with the banks.
Yes.
So we definitely work with the local banks, the First One Bank, Bank of Guam, and even Bank of Hawaii. And there are some other banks outside of Guam.
Yes.
But primarily, I am focusing on local relationships.
Local relationships.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And so how many units do you have under management now?
I do maintain, including Navy housing. So we're managing probably more than 8 million square foot every single day.
Oh, my. I own a duplex, Mr. Ho, and I find that to be very stressful.
It is stressful.
Yeah.
It is
They say, I wonder, Mr. Ho, you have 3 children, you were telling
Yes,
me
I do.
earlier.
Yeah.
They say one child is like 1 child, but 2 kids is like 4, and 3 kids is like 10. But then at a certain point in time, 6 kids feels like 4 kids because it's just like
get used
just you get used to it, right? At what point in time does that occur? I've been having this conversation with people I know. I said, when does having property rentals, what is the magic number? And so this is what I thought. My colleague Matt Baza and I came up with. If you have 10 units and you think 1 or 2 are going to be occupant or are vacant at any time, 1 or 2 represents 80 to 90% occupancy. So that's 80 to 90% effect on your revenues and but even with your expenses being fixed by cost of money, right? So he said 8 or 9 or 8 to, he said 10 units is, he and I were like, yeah, 8 to 10 sounds about right. But then I said 8 to 10, you can still farm out to a property manager. At what point in time do you need your own property management company? And I think that's almost like 200 units. I mean, tell me your thoughts on this.
Usually 100 unit, you need to have a property manager and 1 maintenance staff.
Okay.
That's basically a common rule in the property management. I have 3 children, as I mentioned earlier. When I had a second child, and I talked to myself, my life is finished. So I cannot do anything.
They said the first one is the reason why you have the second, and the second is why you stop.
But I have a third one. Oh, they are blessings.
Yes.
But in real life, once you have a burden of the family,
Sure.
that is the basically reason for your moving forward.
Yes.
But at the same time, the burden is a burden. But now that they're all grown up, they have their own jobs, so it doesn't really matter. But at the time, so when I had a second child, you know what? I'm done. And then I have to be responsible for family.
Yes, sir.
So when you have more employees, same things happen. But if you do have a good staff, and then they can basically share the burden of mine, so that is definitely helpful. So it's always a working together as a team and partnership.
All right. Okay. So now we did construction. You moved into property management.
Correct.
You felt bad because you made so much money. I would like to feel bad soon.
You can easily get used to it.
I would like to feel bad about
And you'll be spoiled.
about being yes. I feel guilty. Now, sir, from there, was the hotel first or media first?
media first.
Okay.
First.
So you acquired, why on God's green earth did you buy the Post? So the Post, for those who don't know, the Post was Mariana's Variety.
Correct.
And this was being run by a family in Saipan.
That's right.
And they had their Saipan, Saipan was like the headquarters.
Correct.
And then Guam was, they had a kind of a, it was almost like a supplement to the Guam PDN. It wasn't quite the primary news outlet for people, print media.
Correct.
You bought it. You really made a dent in the primary news outlets' market share. I mean, I think that goes without saying.
Thank you.
And then from there, you know the media world has changed. People went online. You know, you do still do print, but just what were you just what? How did that happen, sir?
Well, two sentences. I think first it was my destiny.
Okay.
I was not aware of. Second, what happened? Troy Torres, a good friend of mine, he used to work for governor's office.
Okay.
And he stepped out.
Yes.
And he joined our company. So I welcome. I have to let them go to the project site as a gopher and helper.
Okay.
And he enjoyed. So I want him to really go through the whole the 9 yard.
I like it.
And he did. And then he told me one day.
I think we should call it something like the Ho Yun Management Training Plan.
Well, he has a talent. So he came to me. There is an opportunity that the Mariana's Variety will be auctioned.
Okay.
So what do you want me to do? I said, let's get it. Who's going to run it? He said, he's going to run it.
Okay.
Okay, then go for it.
Okay.
And he got it.
Okay.
But after we acquired, and he really wanted to have a public voice,
Okay.
not just for the private sector.
Right.
But since he was working for private firm,
He certainly has the heart for advocacy for the things he believes in.
absolutely. So he wanted to go back to the government.
Okay.
So I said, no problem. So I get stuck. So
Thanks a lot, dude. Okay, so you had to find a way to run it,
So
right?
the Emil Yunis, the family member,
Yes.
so he was still running the show. And then after that, we hired...
You hired Mindy.
Actually, no, I didn't hire Mindy. Mindy came to me, and then he wanted to run Cortec Foundation.
Okay.
So I talked to myself, wait. I'm going to donate, and I need to hire somebody to manage donation.
Okay.
So I have to donate, and I have to pay salary. So, okay. It didn't click, but
See, this is what guilt does to you, sir. It makes you start a foundation. And then you wonder why you're spending all this money to pay people to run. Okay. But anyways, keep going.
But Mindy was so passionate
Yes.
on the foundation, good cause. So sure, no, she was really doing well, and I miss her. She's in States now, and then gradually it was Henry Taitano.
Yes.
Henry and then Mindy were talking about the Post. Is there anything that we can improve?
Right.
So we are talking gradually. Mindy said, "You know what?
Give it to me. Let it.
I think I can handle
I can try.
it." So
That was the transformation, sir. I think that was
Mindy
really
did a fantastic job.
I think that was really when we saw the boldest moves of the Post making its way out there.
So Emil actually moved from third floor, the Post newsroom, to the fourth floor, our headquarters. So he was really helping us to get all the proposal.
Yes.
So he was a proposal writer for years, and then because of the family, so he moved back to Saipan. That's what it happened.
Wow. And then so the Post is now running. It's
Christine and her team is doing fantastic.
Yeah,
job.
they're doing a good job. It's certainly a primary form of media for the general public of Guam as well as abroad. I mean, certainly I think I see my fair share of Matai announcements and also, the meeting notes and, meeting announcements. We see all of that happening. So now you were running. So now by this time you have the construction, you have the rentals, you have the media.
Correct.
Next one was hotels, hospitality.
Correct.
Okay.
So what happened? I think was
Mr. Ho, I feel like we need to have a drink now. Like you're sharing so much, and I'm so grateful. I'm
I think it was
enjoying
in
it.
2016. One of the brokers came to my office, and then there is an opportunity. Mr. Israel's family will release some of their family asset. So I got it. So I got into that.
What did you know about hospitality when you went in, sir?
I didn't know anything. In fact, my good friend Michael, we finished the first transaction,
Okay.
the first package, apartment and commercial building and office building, and we basically had a very simple dinner, and I
I'm
accidentally
sorry, sir. Apartment, commercial building, office building.
from
Tanota.
From Tanota.
Okay. So like in Bellow Road, that's isn't that right? At Bellow Road,
Many buildings.
to the right, and then in Manila, there's a number of
Many
buildings.
buildings.
Yes.
Tanota Garden and many.
Tanota Gardens.
I think
Yes.
the apartment alone was about 770 units.
Okay.
So, and we had a basically casual dinner. And then I accidentally, I don't know why, I asked about the Bayview Hotel. And he said, don't go there. Don't go there. So, well, I'm just curious about it. So, and he said, for you, this is the price.
Oh boy, for you, this is the price.
So I said, okay, let's just do that.
Okay.
So it was very...
See, this is mind blowing to the little people like myself, Mr. Ho, that you're having dinner and you're like, well, what's the price for that? Well, here's the price. Oh, that's a good price. I will buy it.
well,
This is.
well, it wasn't really a fantastic price, but I took it.
It wasn't a fantastic price.
Well, he told me that it's not. He doesn't recommend. He's a straight shooter, very honest, kind man. He didn't want me to get into the hotel industry. But I thought, I was a kind of selfish guy, that you know what, if I can have a different industry that I can neutralize and balance of
Yes.
the volatility of
Well,
the
it really
construction.
is. You talked earlier about hedging.
Yeah.
When I said, so you mean to tell me you opened the wall and you found this garbage and then you just went deeper in and you said, I was hedging. You were hedging
I was.
with the
I
defense
thought.
industry, with tourism, where we thought this was pre-COVID.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So the hotel industry really welcomed me with the COVID. So it was not easy. And then I walk out, you know what?
Absolutely.
I have to be a loyal contractor.
Okay.
So we were really supporting hotel for probably more than 4 years. During
And
the
Mike
COVID
Israel is
time.
still involved, yes, with the Dusit Beach, is it? Or you two still work together on these
We work
on this
together.
project.
Yeah,
This
we
is an
work, yeah.
actively
Correct.
this is an active partnership of
Yes. Yes. He's
growing.
he's a good partner.
So you've had to understand the retail space, sir?
Correct.
Yes. In addition, so not just residential leasing,
Correct.
but now commercial leasing.
Well, we've been doing commercial lease anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
we kind of used to it. But the location is unique. It's a tourism industry.
And it's tourism retail.
correct. Correct.
Tourism
so,
retail.
So a little bit different.
So tell me, so COVID welcomed you and just flattened. I mean, that is a significant investment that you made, sir, into Tumon. You bought the Dusit Beach, formerly known as Outrigger, the Bayview Hotel,
Correct.
and one more.
Ocean View Hotel,
Ocean View,
we
okay.
convert those things into the residential rental unit. There is also Garden Court. Have you ever heard about Garden Court Hotel?
Garden Court, is that the one that's across the street in Tumon?
It's right below Ocean View Hotel.
Okay.
So it was built. It's
Oh,
120
yes.
years.
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're using that just for our staff.
Staffing.
housing.
Okay. Yeah.
But-
No, that's what I thought it was. I was going to say, I thought that was staff housing or
That's
something
right.
along those lines. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me something that you didn't realize. What is something unique about being a hotelier that does not occur in other businesses?
I did the Lotte Hotel
Mm-hmm.
renovation for a while ago. When the grand opening, the general manager
Mm-hmm.
was saying that we have 500 employees. So that fascinated me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't have to do construction
Mm-hmm.
to create a lot of jobs. But indeed, it was a 223 hotel rooms. So they didn't probably have to have 500 people. But maybe because of the opening time, they had a
Right.
lot of employees. So I was enthusiastic about hotel, not because of the tourism or cash flow, because of the job opportunities.
Okay.
So, but usually hotel, 2 hotel, 3 hotels, probably looking at about easy 800 plus, sometimes 1,000 employees. It depends on occupancy. So that's the
Where do you share? Tell me about how you're able to share any type of the overhead on hotels. Is the accounting and the payroll all done out of one place, or is it hotel property by property?
No, hotel is a separate animal, so they have their own staff. But as you can see, the people are using the facility. So there are definitely a facility maintenance issue.
Yes.
So after typhoon, definitely I have to send a lot of construction crew to clean up and then fix the buildings.
Right.
So
Do you
operation
think that
itself is
helped you
different.
bounce back faster after Mawar than other
Absolutely.
properties?
Absolutely. Yeah, constantly we were sending over 50 people every single day for a while.
Right. Wow. That just so what is out of the four, does construction remain the most stressful of the four?
The business itself is not stressful.
Okay.
Because I've been doing for 35 years plus, actually. Well, I started making money since 1985, so almost 39 years plus. So business doesn't really bother me because I know how to give up. I know how to lose money. Yeah, I can. But when it comes to human beings,
Yes.
that's tough.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's always done with people. So, you know, the relationship is something that I have to study and learn a lot.
Mr. Ho, what are your thoughts about the workforce of where it was 30 years ago in the 90s versus the workforce today? I'm reading a lot about how this generation doesn't want to stay. They're not very loyal, 2 years, 3 years. You have employees that have been with you for just decades. What are you
lot.
finding about this
I
these
think it's a
generations?
matching. It's like a marriage. It has to match with each individual. So in other words, I have to deserve their attention and their mind. If I don't earn their mind, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
It's their choice.
Right.
So it's always two-sided. So he can do something, I can do something. Once we align well, then it's going to be a long way. But I don't take it for granted that things will happen automatically. Things will only happen when we put a lot of effort. So if you stop putting the effort, things will not go forward.
And tell me, what do you mean by effort?
Well,
Your time, your attention.
yes,
Do you
time
have to
and time
study?
and care.
Do you have to learn? Do you find yourself in this always learning?
Core tech has only one core value. Core value means it's a decision basis.
Yes.
Are we going to do it this way or that way? And we have to decide based upon core value. That is a care. Ducid, I was very interested in Ducid's core value. They have a 3 core value.
Okay.
Care, can do, and commit. So that's why I like their philosophy. So I was very comfortable getting into that relationship with the Ducid management in Bangkok. So when I say care, I do care for people. Does not mean that they will welcome my way of care. So things are always moving. So you cannot take it for granted.
Okay.
Recently, I read a poem in Korean. So if I translate it, the portion of the phrase is saying, if the verb dies, it becomes a noun.
If the verb dies, it becomes a noun.
Correct.
Yes.
So we work and we communicate with a noun.
Right.
But noun basically it fixates
It's a
things.
It's a fixed thing versus a verb is an
Correct.
animate action oriented type of
Exactly.
thing.
But reality cannot be fixated.
Right.
That's why things are happen, but we think with the concept and
Right.
names and logic with the noun, which doesn't contain the reality, the
Right.
volatile and the very, very dynamic reality.
This is why I think a lot of times academics and practitioners have this
Correct.
conflict, right?
Correct.
Because academics are studying the past, they're studying past performance, and a lot of times you're using past performance as the basis for future performance, but they're not taking into account the current challenges,
Correct.
and these things that are not fixed.
Yeah,
correct?
I'm 100% with you. Yeah. So in reality, it's always moving, challenging, and changing. So how are we going to work with them? My simple word is simple. Everything is changing.
Everything is changing.
And things doesn't change. Things doesn't happen the way I expect. So how are we going to reconcile with the people? Because I expect something from them,
Right.
but they didn't see that way
Right.
from the beginning.
Right.
So I have to go back and then reconcile the work and also our perspectives.
Right.
So it's a constant effort.
So now, with regard to all this change, it's a great time for us to talk about the future and transitioning. Do you see yourself getting into tech sector, like any kind of technology sector type of startup?
That's a very, very good point. In fact, in construction, there are a lot of high tech,
Yes.
but the way we're doing the projects in Guam, especially for military side, we're not really building high-rise building.
Right.
The construction in military is very methodical,
Right.
and we have to work with the clients and their expectations, their way of doing things.
Right.
Even though we have a means and method control, so it's not easy to adopt new technology. It's just basically box building.
Innovation is not
It's not
not
necessary.
in this industry
Correct.
today.
At this moment
At
in
this
Guam.
moment.
But if you're going to build very unique, affordable housing or high-rise building, then we have to have a different technique. And if you're going to do the really massive civil projects, there are companies. Actually, I met the staff of the company. They put a computerized machine, and then excavator can excavate based upon GPA's control.
Okay.
But I am interested in adopting, but we don't have that size.
You don't have the scale and the
Correct,
demand
correct,
today.
Correct.
So speaking of scale, Mr. Ho, you are a Guam. Cortec is a Guam company.
Absolutely.
Conceived, born, and raised. Yes,
Absolutely.
and not sent to college. Just so all your blood, sweat, and tears have been on our soil.
Yes.
Do you see yourself expanding outside of our borders? I mean, do you do work in the Northern Marianas or FSM?
We do build a Northern Marianas College student center at this moment with our subcontractors. At the same time, we do have several projects in Hawaii.
Yes.
The reason why I have to, without any options, we have to expand. Because after 10 years,
Yes.
the Guam build-up will complete it.
Okay.
In other words, it's not going to slow down gradually. It's going to plummet. So my age, I'm going to be at 70. So it's okay. I can justify that I can slow down or step out of the operations. But I have a lot of employees.
Right.
So almost 1,800 in construction industry alone. What am I going to do with that?
Right.
So I have to pave the road. So after 10 years, they would have a choice while they're going to stay in Guam, they're going to start their own business, or maybe they can go back to their home country, or they can be transferred to Hawaii or Australia or even Philippines.
Right.
So that's why we are working on 3 different locations. So primarily we're focusing on Hawaii right now. So we teamed up with a Native Hawaiian organization. So we are doing many projects. And then once we get an award on the 15 billion PDI, Pacific Deterrence Initiative program, and especially focusing on Australia, we are going to put our roots in Australia.
Okay.
So our guys will have a choice.
Right. You have the Pacific Deterrence Initiative. You also have, I mean, basically, there's just so many different layers of DoD money that are to support the Indo-PACOM
That's right.
region. And what about in Asia? I've been hearing about, there being projects in Vietnam, projects in the Philippines. Are those all projects you're willing to
Philippines, definitely.
check out?
Definitely. We do have a company. Basically, they're supporting team, like accounting and estimating and procurement. But gradually, we are going to convert it as a construction entity. So there will be probably about 1 billion programs in Philippines under the PDI.
Right.
So we will be ready for that operations.
We recently had a meeting. I think was it USAID or World Bank? It was one of those types of entities that said that as they're building their presence, I think it was Asia, I believe it was Asia Development
Yes.
Bank, right? And they wanted to meet with contractors because they said nobody's bidding on their work in different geographies. And then I was like, well, what are you trying to do? They're like, oh, we're trying to build like a presence in Nauru. Or something like that. And I said, oh, it's even harder to find contractors in remote islands as opposed to Guam. But that was one of the areas I remember thinking, oh, that's so interesting, because they want DOD. It's the DOD way, or it's sort of the DOD way, the U.S. federal procurement, federal acquisition, right? It's governed by that because it's federal monies, but at the same time, it's on this soil of non-U.S. soil.
Yeah.
So understanding all of that, the difference.
I don't want to get into details. One company got a job in different island, and they get stuck right now because of the permitting process. But at the same time, they got a job at a very, very, very low price. So getting the job or even bigger contract amount doesn't guarantee the reasonable profit,
Right.
or even just don't lose money.
Right.
It doesn't guarantee that. So
Know your geography before you get into it, so you know how long you're going to potentially get stuck.
correct.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Well, Mr. Ho, it's funny because I think we started off with construction. We started talking about your other businesses, and we ended up back in construction. You know why? Because there's so much drama in construction.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like a Korean drama.
I agree.
So, Mr. Ho, as we wrap up, some of the things we'd like to we ask all of our guests is, what advice would you give to 25-year-old, just graduated with a degree in poli-science from Seoul? Where did you go, sir? Seoul National University?
Correct.
That is the Harvard of Korea, is it not?
Yeah.
It is. I don't even know why any of us are surprised. This just surprises me nonetheless. Not at all. So you graduated with this degree in political science. You were supposed to be the next president of South Korea. And instead, love made your way to Guam. Love brought you to Guam. And suffering kept you here. And and so now, what advice would you give to the 25-year-old Mr. Ho?
Patience. Just patient. Be patient. Be patient. Be patient.
Be patient and know that it's all gonna.
Don't count. Don't count eggs.
Okay.
Just be patient.
Don't count your eggs.
Yeah. It takes time.
All right, very good. And sir, when you're going into a big meeting or something that a big proposal you're going to make, something important, a high pressure situation, do you listen to music and any song that is your song?
I love music.
Yes, sir.
And if I'm gonna give up everything, that's because of the music.
Okay.
That's why I'm trying to stay away from the music.
And what kind of music are we talking about
Usually,
to get you amped?
usually, if I'm really going into a very important meeting and boost me up, I usually listen to Korean,
Okay.
student songs.
Okay.
So when I was in college, we were fighting against the so-called dictator
Yes.
presidents,
Yes.
administration. So we were really fighting on the street with the military police or those people. So we had our own songs to, bring our spirits up.
Your fight song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how that's how I actually boost me up.
Oh, Mr. Ho, that is beautiful. I can definitely see the young activist within you, fighting the man, and fighting the man. And this was all before the Seoul Olympics.
Correct.
It was the before. I was going to say back then it was before the Olympics in Seoul. It was before Seoul's emergence as an electronics and technology hub for the world. It was before K-pop. And all of
Way
it was
before.
it was before the world learned about all the
Korea.
All of it, before K-beauty and all of that. And that was where you were cutting your teeth and learning your way. So, sir, this does not surprise me at all that you have, if you had the grit to get through college at such a prestigious university, you had the grit to enter into the market, run into the burning building in the early 90s, and to stay in the market and to continue to delve into new industries that are not easy. I mean, that's the one thing I think that is the thing that kind of has resonated with me throughout is, so you picked media where all the newspapers and print publications are disappearing, and and it's this big, it's always like a big turnaround. Let's go back to the thread. I think the thread was meant for mending where it needs mending. It was meant for creating where you need creating, right? And all of that.
I really appreciate your interpretation of the thread. When I took over the media, it took, I think, almost 18 months for me to sit down with the reporters because I don't want them to feel pressure.
Okay.
And then after a year and a half, they feel that they were abandoned because I didn't spend time with them.
Right.
So I spent time with them. And then I told them, if there's anything that you need to attack me, no problem. Go ahead and do that. I'm okay.
Yes.
So I kind of make sure that they are in a level playing field. But at the same time, I request one thing. Don't touch families. If somebody is in trouble, somebody did wrong, please don't mention their family's name because they're not part of it. So we want the Guam Daily Post as a platform that people can share the informations and feelings So because Guam is a really close island, very limited population, so we don't have to hurt each other because it comes back.
Yes.
So why do you want to start that way?
Yes.
So go ahead and report, share the information, and we're going to be a platform. That's what we are shooting for.
Well, what I was going to share, Mr. Ho, just as you were talking, was reporters, and I enjoy writing myself, and I think reporters are often writers are like artists.
Yes.
Writers, artists, musicians. There's a different kind of sensitivity that you don't quite see in like engineers and accountants, and I would imagine. And so it's the being able to translate that culture from one industry to the next, but using your core value of care.
We need to care, so we have
bring
to
it all
care.
together. Bring it all together. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Ho. This has been so insightful. This is absolutely worth 2 episodes more. I think, like I said, I think we could go on and on and on and just keep talking if you allowed us to. But I know you have very important things to deal with. The last thing I wanted to ask Mr. Ho was please share with those of us who find ourselves short on time, how you answer your WhatsApps like within 2 minutes. I mean, do you answer everyone? Like you're always available. It seems to me like do you sleep?
I do sleep, but I work long hours.
Okay.
So I don't want to be lingering. Same thing, vice versa. I don't want to make people wait.
Okay.
Unless they gave me a wrong message, and I respond very fast.
So that was, it's impressive, the pulse you have on your different businesses, but also the connectedness and the accessibility you give to the people around you. It really is.
We always coexist.
It really is. It's beautiful. All right. Any big announcements you want to make about Cortec International while you're here on the Guampreneurs podcast, sir?
No, we're just, I am really working with our people to prepare the future of our workers after 10 years. So they will have a job continuously. Right. That's my commitment.
Sustaining Cortec into the next generations and next generation, and
yes.
Into the middle of into the middles of the century and beyond. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for guiding me.
Join us for the next episode of Guampreneurs as we continue to talk story, talk economy, and most importantly, talk action, or talk your inner Guampreneur into taking action. Situs Masi.
Thank you.
For information on GITA small business lending programs, visit www.investguam.com, and on small business support, click on the Financial Assistance for Businesses link.